Hello everyone. I have been given permission by Krypton Networks to make a tutorial using their new panel on how to make a Star Wars roleplay server. I'd like to start off by thanking them for giving me this server to do this tutorial on for those to learn how to make a server. This tutorial will focus on making a Star Wars roleplay server, but if it goes well, I will ask to do more in the future. This will be focusing on an Imperial setting, but it can also be used for Clone Wars. Just instead of putting in Imperial, you'll be putting in Clone Wars. So that being said, this video is not sponsored. I'm not being paid. I'm doing this because I want others to learn how to be able to make a server without having to maybe hire someone or get someone else to do it. So first, we're going to go to our server and we're going to open it up. We're going to go to File Management and server.config. So first thing we're going to do is name our server. I'm going to call mine Krypton Imperial. Then we're going to go ahead and set a password for it so players cannot join while it is under development. I'm going to make my password a very secure password. When you make your server, you'll want to make yours much more complex than this, but for tutorial purposes, this will work. Then I'm going to click save the file, and it will say that the file has been successfully saved. Now we'll want to go to our mod manager and install some basic mods we will need for our server. In this new panel and under Krypton host, they do this for you so that you do not have to manually do it. So the first thing we will need is StarWarsRP 2.7. We'll click install, and you'll get a little installing cog, and it will say installed when installed successfully. Next thing you'll want to install is ULX and ULib. This is a very popular admin mod and moderation tool, and we'll be using it a lot through this tutorial and utilizing it. Alright, so now that we've done that, we're going to change the game mode. So right now, we could start up our server and it would show under the Dark RP tab in the game modes. This would be fine, however, we want it to show up the StarWarsRP tab. So you'll want to open Notepad++ or Atom.io or any other code editing software. Personally, in this tutorial, I'll be using Notepad++. So now that we've downloaded Notepad++, we're going to go to our file management, go to Garry's mod, go to game modes, and we're going to change this folder name from Dark RP to StarWarsRP, all lowercase, all one word, and we're going to click on the folder. If it boots you back to the main screen, such as it did with me, that is okay. Just click on the folder again, go to game modes, and click on the StarWarsRP folder. You're going to change this text file here from darkrp.txt to starwarsrp.txt, and then we're going to click on the tab on the folder game mode inside of this folder. We're going to click on cl_init.lua to edit it, and we're going to change this from Dark RP to StarWarsRP, all lowercase, all one word again, and save the file. Once it says it was successfully saved, we're going to go to init.lua and do the same thing here by changing this to StarWarsRP, all lowercase, all one word, and save the file, return to the file manager. Now we will have to set our command line to recognize this game mode. So we're going to go to configuration and set up parameters. The game ID and game name you should only touch if you know what you are doing, and in this case is right by default, and should not be touched unless you know what you're doing. This is the default game map the game will use when starting up. In order to find out a map ID, some maps, such as the one I'll be using in this example, has it in its actual description, but some maps don't. If your map doesn't have it in the description, I'll show you later on how to find it when you join your server. So I'll be using the Star Destroyer since this is a Imperial server, and as you can see in the map description, it has the map ID right here. But again, if yours doesn't, that's okay. I'll be showing you how to find out when you're in game. This is the max players amount allowed on your server. This can be changed by upgrading your slots. Now, here in the game mode, this is what our game mode will want to start up as. So right now it is set at sandbox. So we will want to change this to StarWarsRP. All lowercase, all one word. We will not be worrying about the Steam auth key just yet, or the tick rate. This is to control the lights on the map. Some maps will use excessive amounts of lighting to cause lag. This should be set to 0 when using a big map. I would recommend having this off at all times, because even for little maps, it does not make that amount of difference. Now here's where we get into our workshop collection. So when you make your workshop collection, at the very end, you will have ID equals. You will want the numbers after that, and that is what it is looking for when you put in your workshop collection. And then your Archon password. While you're developing the server, you will want to have an Archon password so other users cannot access it. I'm going to make mine in this tutorial a very secure password, same as my server password. When you're actually doing this, you will want to make this a secure password that no one but you or people you want to be able to develop the server should know. And these are some other commands we can have here. We won't be touching this in this tutorial. So we can update our startup parameters. As you can see, the startup variables were successfully updated, and we can go start up the server. So if we go to console and restart the server, and now our add-ons will start downloading. This might take a while depending on how many add-ons you have in your content pack, so you need to be patient with it and let it download all of it. I'm going to cut the video here and cut back to when all of our add-ons are downloaded. Alright, so the server has just finished downloading the last of the add-ons in my example content pack, and if we looked under the StarWarsRP server, we would see our actual server in the StarWarsRP tab. Now that we've done that, we're going to start making our actual jobs. So we're going to be using this site. We call it csite.io. It's a free site, and I would recommend it to all beginners starting out for making jobs. And we will also want to open up Notepad++ to begin making our jobs. In Notepad++, the first thing you'll want to do is make the language into Lua so that you can have syntax highlighting for when you're making your server. So the first thing I'll be demonstrating on how to do is to make 3 categories. I'll be making 2 player categories and 1 staff category. So the first category I'll make will be called Stormtroopers. And we need to choose what type of category. In this instance, I want them to be jobs. And we'll want to choose what color we want our Stormtroopers to be. I want them to be white. Next, we'll choose if this should start expanded. I personally dislike when servers start things expanded, and I like them to be closed so that the F4 menu looks more orderly. Then we will need to choose what order in the F4 menu this appears. So I want it to be the first category in the F4 menu, and we will not worry about this configuration for now. If you feel uncomfortable doing this, you may just simply copy and paste it over, and the code will work fine. However, I'm just going to copy it under the green part here, which is commented, meaning that the server will not read it. And we will want to change this and save it as categories.lua. Now we're going to make our second category. So my second category I want to make is 501st. Again, I still want them to be under jobs, except this time I want them to be a nice blue color. That looks good to me. I still do not want them to start expanded, and in the F4 menu, I want them to be second. I want everyone to be able to see this, so we will copy this and paste. The last example I'll be giving is if you do not want everyone to see a certain category. So for instance, I'll be making a staff on duty tab. These will still be under tabs, and I will have it as a gray color. I still want it to start closed, and we'll make it third order. However, for restriction, I want only certain groups to be able to see this. UX that we installed earlier will be the admin mod of choice here. Now these are all the UX groups that will be able to see this tab. Now I do not want regular users to be able to see this tab, as that would ruin some of the gameplay mechanics and immersion. So the ranks that I plan on having in my server will be super admin, admin, moderator, and trial mod. Now that we've done that, we can copy this and paste it, and we can save it. And that's just an example on 3 categories. Your server will probably have much more categories depending on how many battalions you would like in your server. Next, we are going to open a new file, and we're going to call this jobs.lua. So we're going to head back to tools, and we're going to start making our first job. So at this point, you should open up your Garry's mod and go into your server to get, so we'll need to be in the server to get some necessary information. So I'm going to pause the video and go into the server and show you what you'll need. So as you can see, my game is loaded up, and if we go under the StarWarsRP tab and look for our server, you will see is right here and locked. We'll need to enter the password, which again we set a very secure password, and we can join the server. At this point, your game will load into the server, and depending on how long this takes, I may or may not cut this part out. This is the default loading screen created by Krypton Networks, which is very nice, as no other host I know of has a default loading screen, and usually met by the ugly square floating around in the middle. And this is a much nicer screen to look at. So I've successfully loaded into the server, and as you can see, we are on the correct map, and everything is working properly. So first thing we'll want to do is set ourselves as a super admin. So we'll want to go to the console and type in our server console password, which we set a very secure password. And it looks like our icon password didn't actually take effect, so we can type UX, add user, your name in game, and then the rank you want. So as you can see, the console's added me to super admin, and I now have access to all the commands that I will need. So, to find a model that you would like to make for your character, well actually I should say, we should go back to the job generator. So the first part will be the team ID. So multiple jobs can have the same team ID. So for instance, we can have a stormtrooper and a stormtrooper commander under the same team called team_stormtrooper, and it would work just fine. However, I would recommend making them unique, as it can cause problems in some add-ons, and some users can use it to get around certain things in your server. So I would recommend making them all unique. So the first job I'm going to make is a Stormtrooper Cadet. This is the name that will show up as in the F4 menu. So I'm going to type Stormtrooper Cadet. So now here's what we need for in-game. So to find a model, you would go into Garry's mod, go down the Q menu, and go until you find the model that you would like. This can take a while depending on how many models you have and how many other content packs you're subscribed to. So I would recommend while you're making your server, you're only subscribed to one content pack, and that would be yours, so that you can find models more easily while making your server. So once you find the model that you would like, so I found it here, you can spawn in and see if it looks like what you want. That looks good to me. So next I'm going to model myself to make sure that this model actually works and is not T-post. This is not included in normal UX and is in the content pack in the example that I've given called UX Cleanup Kit. I usually model myself every time I want to find a model to make sure that the model is working correctly and is not T-post. So once we've done that, we can right click, copy to clipboard, and return back to our job generator. We can put in the cat model, which we just copy there, and now we get to decide what category it goes under. So under the categories.low, I would like it to go under the stormtroopers. This is case and space sensitive, so I will put stormtroopers under which category I would like this job to go. I would like the color to be gray, and it needs a description. I'll put you are a stormtrooper cadet. Now for the command. Every job needs a command to type in game to become that job without the slash. These each must be unique and it cannot be the same for any job. I usually just make it the job name. So for instance, I will have this as Stormtrooper Cadet as the command to become Stormtrooper Cadet. Now we would go to the weapons. These are what weapons you would like to have this person to have. In this instance, I don't want cadets to have any weapons because they're still being trained to join the server. These are the permissions in which everyone can join, so I would like everyone to be able to join this job. I would not like a vote to become this job. These don't matter because this is not a dark RP server and you won't be using licenses on Star Wars, but I just set it as no. This is whether or not you can demote this job. I usually choose no by default, and you can set the salary for how much this player makes. I'll put $50 and how much you would like, and the maximum amount of them you would like. 0 is unlimited, and obviously I want an unlimited amount of people to be training as a cadet at one time, so that if there are a lot of people on the server who are new, they don't have to wait. This is the amount of health they spawn with. I would like them to spawn with 100 health and 0 armor. We're not going to worry about the body groups or ammo types or the custom check configuration. So we can copy that, and again, you can just click the copy button if you'd like to copy it. But in the jobs Lua, we'll paste that. And now we will move on to the next job. So the next job I'll make is a regular Stormtrooper. I will change the name to a Stormtrooper instead of Stormtrooper Cadet, and we're going to keep the same model. I would like them to be still under the same category and the same color. Instead of you are a Stormtrooper Cadet, I'll put Stormtrooper, and the command will be Stormtrooper instead of Stormtrooper Cadet. Now we can get our Stormtroopers some actual weapons. So if you hold down Q, you'll go to the Weapons tab. Under TFA, under whichever weapon pack you install, personally I'm using TFA Star Wars, you'll find whichever weapon you would like. I will personally be giving my Stormtroopers 11s. So, click on it, decide it, and if you do, you can right click, copy to clipboard, and paste in the weapon. You can do this for however many weapons you like. For this tutorial, I'm going to be giving them one weapon, this one. Again, I would like everyone to be able to see this. I would not like to require a vote when a person to become this. No, they shouldn't have to spawn with license, and no, I wouldn't like them to be demoted. I'll up their salary by a little bit to show that they have progressed, and I still want an unlimited amount of Stormtroopers, as this is the most common battalion in the server. Maybe, if you would like, you can start your troopers off a little bit more health by giving them 150 health and maybe 50 armor. But this is completely optional and up to you and your taste. So now we will get to the custom check configuration. This is to make sure that people who are not whitelisted to the job cannot become the job. So I would like everyone to be able to see this job even if they can't become it. This is to show how many jobs I have on the server and to show the kind of variety I have. This is the message that will show if you are not whitelisted to the job when you try to join. I'll put you are not whitelisted to this job. And we must choose the method on which we can restrict people. So I'm going to choose groups and choose our admin system that we are using. So I would like all admin ranks to be able to access this job, because in case admin should ever be a Stormtrooper, they should be able to access this job as well. Now we must make a new Yoast group for this job specifically, and it must be unique. So like the command, I usually just make the group that this should be called Stormtrooper. Now in game, you will have to go to menu, user management, add a group, and make a group called Stormtrooper, and inherit it from user. You will want to do this, you'll need to do this for every job that you make. So I put Stormtrooper here, and so I created a new group called Stormtrooper so that when I add people to the Stormtrooper ULX group, they'll be able to join this job. So now I can copy this and put it in here. I'll be doing one more job as an example. So I'll be doing 2 more jobs as an example, sorry. I'll be doing maybe a Stormtrooper Commander. So that model looks good to me. So let's go and copy it to our clipboard and make sure that it works. Yep, looks good to me. So now we're going to copy it to our clipboard and make a new team. Team underscore Stormtrooper Commander. We're going to change this from Stormtrooper to Stormtrooper Commander. And we're going to make a new model. I still want him to be under the Stormtrooper category, the same color. Instead of you're a Stormtrooper Commander. I want the command to be Stormtrooper Commander. And I want him to have the same weapon. Notice how I'm making things the same for the command, the category, the team. This is so that it is easier to remember what you've made things when you're trying to remember them later on. I want everyone to access this job. I don't want a vote requirement, a license, and I don't want them to be demoted. And perhaps maybe they should get a bit more money, maybe $150. I do want a maximum amount of Stormtrooper Commanders. I only want 1 to be allowed at a time, and I want them to spawn with a bit more health and a bit more armor. So now that we are going to keep this all the same, I want everyone to be able to see this job, even if they're not whitelisted to it. My message will be you're not whitelisted to this job. We're still doing it through the UX command system. Except this time we're going to click the X on Stormtrooper, because if we had them under the Stormtrooper group, anyone whitelisted as Stormtrooper could join Stormtrooper Commander and the regular Stormtrooper job, and we don't want that. So we're going to put Stormtrooper Commander. And we must go back in game and make a new group called Stormtrooper Commander. Now, you're probably wondering if there's an easier way to do this. And unfortunately, unless you buy a script from somewhere, such as a whitelisting script that does this for you, this is the only way to do it with ULX, and there's not an easier way. It can be tedious, but this is how it should be done if you're going to make sure that players cannot join jobs that they are not whitelisted to. The final example I'll give you is a job that maybe you don't want people to see if they're not whitelisted to. So I'm going to put team underscore staff on duty. The name will be staff on duty. And we need to find a model. In this example, I'll be making the staff on duty player model this. So we can go back and make our new model him by copying it to our clipboard and pasting it in here. Now he is not under the same category of Stormtroopers. We have made a new category column firm called staff on duty. So we will put in here as staff on duty. The category is space and case sensitive, so you'll need to type it as it says here and what the name is. I would still like them to have a gray color, and the description is you are a staff member. The command, I'll have a staff on duty, and they'll be spawning with a fizz gun and a tool gun to be able to handle any situations that will require them to have those tools. Now, permission. You'll want to not keep this on everyone and not admin and hire, because the custom UX groups you make, such as mod or trial mod, will not be able to access this job because they are not default group by Fuel X. I do not want them to have to vote, a license, and not to be demoted. You can choose whether or not to give them a salary. Personally, I usually set them to about $1. It doesn't really matter. And I don't want and I don't think you can ever have too much staff on duty, so I'll set that to 0. I'll put their health as 100,000 and their armor as also 100,000 so that they cannot be killed by anyone breaking the rules while they are trying to handle them. Now this is where we get to the custom check. I would not like anyone to be able to see this job and to be restricted to players that can pass the check. So the groups will be under the method will still be groups, and we will still be using YOX, except we will only have trial mods, modders, admins, and super admins be able to join this group. And if you are not whitelisted to those, you will not be able to see the staff on duty job, or since we set it up in the categories, the category either. So the last thing we need to do, or I'm going to show you, is how to set the default job as a job that you join, that when you load into the server, you will join as by default and not have to switch to. To set a default job, you'll want to scroll down to the very bottom of the jobs.lua, and if you've downloaded a fresh jobs.lua, you'll see this these at the very bottom. You'll want to copy whichever team ID you would like to be the default job. So in this instance, I would like it to be the Stormtrooper Cadet. We're going to change this from whatever it is to Stormtrooper Cadet. And we're going to save it. We're not going to touch any of this. And now we are done making our example jobs. Now, when you make your usual jobs, it is not uncommon to have thousands of lines of code, 1,000+ lines of code. So don't be scared if you have that many lines of code. So now, when you've done this, I'm going to show you how to install it into your server. So we're going to go back to our panel, and we're going to go to your file management, Garry's mod, go to add-ons, Darker RP modification, Lua, Dark RP custom things, and then you're going to click on the jobs.lua, and you're going to copy it and paste it. I've already done it, but I'll do it again, and return to file manager. Then you're going to go to categories.lua, copy this, and paste it into your categories, and save it. Now that we've done that, we are going to want to disable the default jobs on the server that are there by default. So if we go into our game right now and we press F4, as you can see, our two categories are already there. But citizens, civil protection, and gangsters are also there. We don't want those to be there because this is a StarWarsRP server, and the way you disable that is going back to your Garry's mod, add-ons, Dark RP modification master, Lua, and go to Dark RP config. They will be under disable defaults. So if you scroll down, these are the default jobs, and instead of these being false, you'll want to change these to true for every job that you would like disabled. I would recommend doing it for every job, since you don't want any jobs that aren't Star Wars related to be on the server. And so if you set these all to true, they will all go away, so that they cannot be on here. You should also do this for the shipments, as you do not want people using AKs, 47s, or any regular guns in your Star Wars server. This also goes for the drug lab, the gun lab, the money printer, the microwave, and the tip jar. You can leave the food alone, and all this, you'll want to change the ammo to true so that they cannot buy pistol, rifle, or shotgun ammo. You can leave this alone, you can leave that alone, and you can leave all this alone. So we can save that, go to our console, quickly disconnect from the server, and restart it. So now that the server is restarting, when it comes back online, we should spawn in as a Stormtrooper Cadet. We should see that our user groups that we've made are working, and that everything, our jobs and categories, are there correctly with no errors in the code making the server break or any other problems occur. So we'll give this a minute to reload, and I'll see you once it's loaded. Alright, so I've just loaded back into the server, and as you can see, we've spawned in as a Stormtrooper Cadet. When we press F4, a Stormtrooper is there, as well as the staff on duty. So all of our jobs are working properly that we put into the server. Now I will demonstrate how the whitelisting system works. So right now, since I'm a super admin, I can join the staff on duty job, and I can join the Stormtrooper job, and I can join any job I want. But if I wanted to, I could restrict myself by going to ULX, add user, and add myself to the Stormtrooper job. I've also noticed that the Stormtrooper commander job is not in, and so I will figure out why that is in a moment. But so now I'm still staff on duty. I can change the Stormtrooper, and now we cannot see the staff on duty tab at all. And if I were to try and join it, it would say I was not able to. I'm now going to look into why the Stormtrooper Commander job did not come in correctly, and I'll let you know as soon as I get back. Alright, so I just looked and I didn't actually make the job, like an idiot. I'm not going to go over it since I feel as though I have gone over enough jobs, but yeah, you would just replace the model, and actually it might even still be up. No, it's not. But basically, you would just follow the same steps as the Stormtrooper and as the staff on duty, except you would do the custom check for Stormtrooper Commander. And yeah, now that we've done this, I'm going to show you guys some recommended settings I would have for any StarWarsRP server, and some neat commands for you and your server, and things that you'll need to set up your server. So let me just go ahead and add myself back to a super admin here. Actually, I can do it through here. So now that I've added myself back to a super admin, you can see I can see the staff on duty job again and change to it. So the first thing you'll want to need to know is how to disown doors, keys, regular keys, and disallow ownership. Now no one can own this story. Next is how to set spawns. To set a spawn, stand simply where you would like the troopers to spawn, and type in /set spawn, and then the command that they were given for their job. So for instance, for Stormtrooper, we put the command as Stormtrooper, all lowercase, one word, so we would need to put Stormtrooper, and as you see in the bottom right, Stormtrooper spawn position was created. We'll make a recruit room. You could do so as well by finding an area for the recruits, such as maybe right here would be a good room, and typing in /set spawn, checking what we made the command. We made it Stormtrooper Cadet, all one word lowercase, Stormtrooper Cadet, and their spawn point has been created. Now I'm going to go back to our server and go over some default settings that you might want to change for your server. So if we go into add-ons, RP modification, Lua, and custom things. Again, these are all just recommendations for me. Sorry, you want to go into config. You don't have to do these if you do not want to. These are just recommended settings for you and your server. So the first setting I would recommend changing is force respawn. Enable and disable don't have to respawn. I would change this to false, because if we actually add in the Stormtrooper Commander job, you would notice that we made his job much higher, and when you change jobs, so right now I'm at 100,000. I know it's hard to see with my windowed menu, but if you can still see, my health has not changed. So we do not want, so if you go to a job with a higher HP and switch to a job with a lower HP, your HP or armor will not change, and that could obviously cause problems. So we want people to be able to, we want them to force the respawn whenever they change jobs. Next, we'll be making it so multiple admin ranks can spawn NPCs. Right now, no one can spawn NPCs, but that would be no fun for the players. So I'm going to set this to 2, so that super admins or higher can do it. That's the same with vehicles, so that super admins can spawn vehicles as well. Next, I will change the gel timer. And this is in seconds. So 2 minutes, which is 120 seconds, is a little light for my taste, and I would like them to be in jail for 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. That is all the recommended options up here that you should change. Now we'll go over recommended options down here. So by default, these are the default weapons players will spawn with. I do not want my players to be able to spawn with the camera, tool gun, fizz cannon, or fizz gun, so I will simply remove them. However, on your server, you may want them to spawn with something else, and if you do, you can add it in here. So as an example, I will have people spawn with the salute swept by default, and begin quotation, and put in the weapon ID that we learned earlier by right-clicking, copying it, and putting it in here in brackets with a comma after. We can save the file, and if we restarted the server, we would be forced to respawn jobs, so we would that would happen every time we change jobs, except it would tell you if you just switch your job, and your health would change to the normal health that you set. That was all the recommended settings I have for your server. I would like to thank Krypton for letting me make this tutorial, and if they would like me to do future ones more in the future, I would happily do so. Anyway, I hope you've learned how to set up your very own StarWarsRP server. If you have any questions, feel free to go to the knowledge base, or relook at this video and see if you've done anything wrong. Thank you all for watching. Alright, so I just remembered that I actually forgot a pretty important part. So we need to open up the server and delete the password. So you're going to go to your server config, and where it says the password here, you would delete everything in between these two quotations, leave the quotation marks, so it would look just like that, and your server will no longer have a password when you go to your console and restart your server. Thank you all for watching.